This episode of Heroes of the Horn is brought to you by Oshaman Jonathan DeWatt. I will put an end to it. The taunting. The baiting. I will end it. Callandor. It called to him.
Welcome to Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sir Matt.
And I am Sir Ezra. Welcome to our Wheel of Time book club. The horn has sounded, and we have answered the call. Today we are covering The Dragon Reborn, chapters 35 through 43.
Yeah, as some big things are happening this week. We have met some new characters, the Maidens of the Spear. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They seem pretty badass. Is to put it just about as bluntly as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Avienda. She has entered the fray. Aiel. We kind of met her. We met her last week, but now we've really met her. The Falcon, and it ties back to some things that Min said about a falcon, and a hawk, going on with Perrin. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. The connections there. So a lot of cool things happening this week.
So you're saying it's things are escalating. We're getting fired up. Right, and the dragon may just be riding again on the winds of time.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. So, Ez, how you doing? How you doing this week, man?
Oh, I'm good, doing good. I'm excited. There's a lot of things I'm excited for. We were just listening to some music beforehand before we start recording. We always listen to something to get us hyped, And I thought there's gonna come a day where we won't have to listen to other fandoms or other types of music from different. There will be Wheel of Time music, and It will be epic, and I cannot wait because I'm telling you, anyone who follows our other projects, we've said this before. We try to get hyped before the shows. We talk about certain things in the chapters, or we find some really cool thing we want to pull out and talk to you guys about. And then on top of that, we've got music playing in the background. It's either something from, either Game of Thrones, or it's a Star Wars thing, or it's some 80s music that's just getting us fired up. And I'm like, man, what is that going to be like, when we have some music for the TV show?
Yeah, what is the Wheel of Time music going to be like? I don't know. Right now there's a bunch of things on YouTube that are like, hey, this is what I think it's going to be like. It'd be interesting if we could go back and find some stuff about what people thought the Game of Thrones music would sound like before it came out. So maybe I wonder if there's any let me do a quick search of Ruski here and see, do we know who's doing the score? Do we know who's doing
go ahead. I think there is. If you look for that, and I'll while you're looking for that, I'll go on this little tangent because I was listening to the audiobook, and the music that is it's just the audiobook production, but kind of like the flute. And, again, Rand and his flute and all of his instruments and Tom Maryland and everything, they have little tiny things at the beginning and the ends of the audiobook productions that I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome.
No,
it's so small. But,
I'm not seeing anything here, so I don't know if we know who's doing the score just yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be epic. Someone's working on something, I'm sure we don't know who it is.
Right.
But I don't know. So have you heard that though at the beginning? Because you listen to the audiobook too. Have you heard that at the beginning?
There's a little bit of music there.
Yeah. Okay. There's one later on, they switch it up. So at the end of the books, when we were trying to come up with our intro and outro, I tried to draw inspiration from that audio production. No joke. I went to the end of each of the books, and I was listening for, because 3 or 4 books will be in a row. We'll use that same outro clip, and then they switch it up every now and then, and it's kind of cool. So I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, awesome. Yeah, man. So,
but yeah, hey, what have you been up to? What's going on? You all right?
I'm good, man. Just started a new job, so I've been there. It's been good. It's a medical records job. It's just I'm downtown Portland. Not really by any of the stuff that's going on, so that's good. But yeah, so it's pretty chill. I can listen to audiobooks all day, so I've been hammering out Wheel of Time. So we're actually recording this episode just a little bit early, just because I'm that much further along. So as we'll get texts periodically throughout the day, and I'm just like, oh, just met this person, met this person, this is what's going on. So yeah, I mean, we're closing in on the end of this book, actually, because this book is a little bit shorter than some of the others, or at least certainly not as many chapters. So I think actually the next episode we finish the Dragon Reborn, and we move into the Shadow Rising, which sounds dark.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I'm glad you are able to blitz through some of the books now, because we're going to need that time to. It's just so much reading to do, and all the projects that we do, we really try to, because gosh, we don't just read it once. I mean, sometimes you have to go back and reread. We look at the notes again and take our own notes. It's quite a bit. And with that, actually, thank you to everyone who has gone out to our Patreon and supported us there. Literally, I cannot thank you guys enough for that, because it is. Like, there is a lot of work that goes into these shows and the videos and the YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I don't talk about it a lot, but just because we love doing it, and so I don't even know that I call it work. I just am super pumped about talking about the chapters and these characters and the TV shows coming out. So, but really, though, I appreciate that, and we've got some great conversations going on over on the outlines. We always do kind of like a chapter. Well, kind of like a part, like discussion. So this is part 5. There's like a discussion thread over there. You guys can go check that out, participate in. Anyone can go on there and check it out. You don't have to be a patron. You can literally just go there, make a free account, and you guys can discuss. And I think it's kind of cool, because you're discussing with other patrons who are getting shouted out on the show and who we're going to have in spoiler discussion. Actually, Sir Matt, I just got a message from Lady Heather. The whole Portal Stone conversation, the whole accepted test. So she did, and this is what's great, because I don't always have the time to go do specific deep dives and digs and do the research on that kind of stuff. So individuals who do go and do that and then reach out to me and say, hey, Ez, I found this. Can we talk about it, or would you like to talk about it? Abso-freaking-lutely. So I need to message her back and set that up, because I was like, that's awesome. Let's do it. So we'll get into that. And I think the reason I'm not going to talk about it here is because, according to her, and I totally believe her, and just based on what I remember and know, there's some spoiler stuff in that, but it's everything I've been saying here in the fall. I want to get into that territory. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm just checking out Watt on Prime's Twitter, right? Wheel of Time on Prime's Twitter. We haven't. I mean, I said we're going to get Elaine soon, but they haven't done any new casting announcements yet. So
yeah. It's weird. They kind of go like, some weeks you'll get something and some weeks you don't, and it's not really. They're consistent. It's just that they're going to do the book club, and then like they might, if you're in there, it's almost like you just never know. So it's a surprise drop. So it's almost like you have to show up for every book club, which I think is great. It's good. It's
right.
It's smart. And there's some really good conversation. Like I said, we pulled out the whole Dark Friend conversation out of last week's.
And they're going through. So they're going through the Eye of the World, doing chapters, and so that they are going to finish the Eye of the World this Wednesday, which this episode will release actually next Tuesday. We're recording this the 6th of September, Sunday, September 6th. So on the 9th, which is our coming Wednesday, but by the time you're listening, this will have been last Wednesday. They are finishing it, so we'll see. They say set your alarms because for this Wednesday. So maybe we'll get a new casting announcement.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm hoping.
What if it's like, hey, we have a big casting announcement, and it's like some random guy is like, Trolloc A or Trolloc B. You know what I mean? You know, it's kind of like those background characters like Trolloc 1, Trolloc 2, Trolloc 3, and they're like,
But what if, though, some of the things that they could do is like, we got sort of, someone leaked that White Cloak image, but I mean, it would be if we saw like a Trolloc. I don't know. I kind of want to see all that in the teaser trailer or whatever, but even just like a Trolloc arm or something like who knows? I mean, any of that stuff we'll go crazy for, just because it's keeping people, just interested and invested in. And actually, I guess a quick update. You said from what you found, I mean, we might get a teaser trailer. It's actually probably going to be much more like December or the holidays.
Right. Yeah. So on the Daily Trolloc Reddit, what I saw, it just because that's where I go for news. Well, it's on my Reddit feed, so it pops up.
Yeah.
So they said they're going back in September. What's now September? If you look at like the Czech Republic film schedules and what's going on there, and it's just listed as Project W, an epic fantasy series. So I mean, it's obviously Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's Wheel of Time, right? But it's like super secret, so that's cool. So it seems like their schedule is going to be September through December to finish what seem most likely is the last 2 episodes. So if that's the case, then my guess is it's unfortunate, man, but I don't think maybe we get a teaser, maybe we get some still images or something. But then if I'd assume, I'd say you're looking at Comic-Con of next year is when you see that first trailer, unless there's a teaser before that. I mean, maybe if it finishes in December, maybe we get like a teaser, just like a quick teaser, or maybe it's something like how with Game of Thrones we got a little bit of new footage included in like a big HBO package.
Yeah.
So I think maybe what's likely is if they're finishing in December, beginning of February, Super Bowl, you get a Amazon Prime TV show package, and maybe we get a couple shots of Wheel of Time there, and then I would say Comic-Con would be the big thing, and then you're probably looking at next holiday season for the show to release.
Yeah. Dude, I always think, I totally agree with you, actually. I think, and it's just because of, COVID and everything.
It got pushed back. Because of COVID,
and that's fine. I'm really glad they're back at it, and things are hopefully, and I think things are going to be slower because they're going to be trying to keep everyone safe and the whole thing. So it's fine. But I love that they're that close to almost being finished with season 1 and then getting into all the post-production stuff. But, for me, I would just love, even if it's around the holidays or they finished it or whatever, if I could just get Rosamund Pike just saying some type of line, just, I mean, something about the pattern, something about the wheel, and just some music underneath her just saying that, just maybe like, I don't know, just her in costume or whatever, and that's it. Something that short. Maybe in the background you have Rand just like, like I don't know, just like crying out or something. Who knows? I mean, just some crazy thing. Something short though, real, just kind of a tiny little thing that you throw out there as a teaser, and people just go, "What is this? What?" And then you see the name. It's out there on all their social media. It's going across YouTube. It's going everywhere, and then people start to dig in to the series a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm looking right now to see what are even. I don't even, to be honest, I don't even know what other than I know Jack Ryan and Marvelous Miss Maisel. Man in the High Castle, The Boys, and I'm trying to the other one that people keep telling me about is The Expanse. Everyone keeps saying The Expanse is really good.
I've heard The Boys and The Expanse. That's the one
I've watched a little bit of The Boys, but I'm just trying to look and see really what are all those big Amazon Prime. So I think the new season of The Boys is out now or just came out because I was just seeing commercials and stuff for it.
Okay.
So I think you can use that to say, well, okay, what do they have coming? So if The Boys is going to if season 3 of The Boys is going to release roughly now, which would be September of next year, Marvelous Miss Maisel is also I think to me that's the one I've heard the most about. Every time I go on Amazon Prime, it's always right there as
what is
their
it?
Big Marvelous Miss Maisel. It's about this. She's a stand-up. It's a female stand-up comedy in the 50s. It's really funny. It's pretty good. I've watched some of it, but I mean that was the first one that I remember be oh, this is their first big kind of hit. I mean, sure there was stuff before that, but for me that was the one where I was oh, okay. It has I forget the girl's name, but she's in House of Cards as well. Early on. and then she dies. Spoiler. But yeah. So spoiler. But anyway, so you can kind of go through and look at like, okay, when do they release stuff? And so then it's like, with these streaming things, do you release a show? Do you stack them up? Do you release like this, and this? Because that's not really seems how Netflix does it. It seems like Netflix is kind of like, okay, well, you want this to be this month's big show, and then you want it to be spaced out. That way, you're constantly, you're constantly watching. Because I think we look at Netflix, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Now you have this show, now you have this show, now you have this show, and it's like a good stream of like, okay, here's the shows that I want to continue to watch on these streaming platforms.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I get you. That's cool. So, and I mean, so you're thinking it's going to be late next year?
Yeah, if I had to take a guess, I'm thinking maybe November of next year, because production time. I mean, like Game of Thrones was finished filming, and then you have to edit, you have to decide what do you want to cut, you have to put in the score, you have to do promotion stuff, you have to do. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, the post production of a show once it's done filming. I mean, cut everything you got to cut. Then you got to get the actors. You got to get them to go around and go on talk shows and do all this stuff and, hype it all up and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, it's exciting. So it's within a year from now.
Definitely. They're saying 2021. I mean, obviously, I'd love for it to be like July or something, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But if I'm just thinking about it, that's kind of where I'd be. I mean, the Mandalorian, right? I mean, that's something we're excited about with Star Wars. That's coming out next month, but we know that they've been done filming for months. I mean, they've been done filming for months. So
yeah. Yep, I get you. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, and if you guys are out there and you've heard something or what have you, let us know. But we're excited. So, all right, man. And also, real quickly, I want to mention before we anything else on that. I think we're good. We're good there. It's a little update on the show. Before we move on from there, I want to give a quick shout out to some folks here. Brittany just followed us on our Instagram and our Twitter. We also had someone, so Patricia followed us. Shout out to her. Let's see. I just love this because like Lord Rhombus. I mean, we've got Blue Aja 99.
That's great.
And so on. So it's Amy Bizarre. I butchered that. Sorry. Perry. Okay. This is cool. I mean, I was sitting here and I was just watching like 2 to 3 people. We just had a post go up and then they followed us while we were recording, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, on Twitter it's at the Horn of Valir, and on Instagram the same thing. I need to get on Instagram and actually start updating that a little bit. And you know what I thought about doing, which might be kind of fun for some of our patrons, is especially the Instagram, if people have Wheel of Time ideas, doing kind of like a little social media takeover and seeing what we get there. We have over on Game of Thrones and Hyperspace Hangout, we have some pretty cool we have our meme game is pretty strong over there. We've got a lot of memes rolling through, and I love Wheel of Time memes. I just have to make sure that Sir Matt is not following that account because some of them are spoilers.
Well, I can't be spoiled. I mean,
yeah, and I try not to post any of those that are spoilers, but I still I follow all these other Watt memes and just different things, and so they're hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, anyway, shout out to everyone who is following us on social media. We really appreciate you guys, and we're having a blast with this. So, all right, let's do this. Let's move into the Village Council, and today I thought we would talk about the Illuminators Guild just a little bit. They come up in our reread today, so I thought we would go over this. And really, the two main places that, they're first introduced in The Great Hunt. I think it's chapter 27, when we go to Kyrian. Remember, Rand is kind of sneaking away, trying to get away from that Trolloc that's parading in the streets there, and he and Loyal and Selene are, maneuvering, and they end up going through like the back door of the Illuminators, kind of like their house, their mainstay. And we first actually hear about them, though, much earlier. We hear, like, Matt has had sort of a fascination with fireworks. And, you know, like they always kind of say, like when it's almost like a flashback. He kind of thinks back to this, but like he has a firework and he gets in major trouble back in Emmons Field because he wants to open it up. He wants to open it up and see what's inside. And the idea is that if you do that, it could explode. The explosion could be so big. There's all this fear that's created by the illuminators when they sell their fireworks, that if you cut them open or whatever, it will kill you and it will kill others around you. And, you know, maybe, I mean, if you were to, if you don't do it carefully, I'm sure that maybe that could happen. But I think the greater thing here is that they don't want you to access their secrets. It is a secret guild where they're working on, like they've got gunpowder, they've got other things that they know that others don't. So it's this really super guarded secret. And Rand just goes into the Illuminators, you know, guild house, and just they cause some major problems, and people get in big trouble because the back door's open, the Trollocs come in, the whole 9 yards. They are, and this is I don't know that this really matters in a large way, but it is mentioned in the Great Hunt, so I'm trying to avoid a spoiler that's later on. But it's in 2 places. So they have 2 houses in Tenchico and Kyrian. And we've been to Kyrian. And that's all we'll say about that. It's pretty cool. We now come across, in the Dragon Reborn, we come across a character named Aludra. And Matt kind of, we'll get to it, but he wants to help her. She's running from other Illuminators she's been cast out of that order. And they go to huge extremes. To like, there are other Illuminators who are chasing her down. They're trying to kill her, Sir Matt. Like they're like, or silence her, keep her quiet because she's selling fireworks. Like, she knows the craft, she knows it, and so it's almost like, you know, to expel someone from it, or for her to leave, I guess, the order. She cares about it, but at the same time, she has to make a living, so she can make these, and she knows how to do it. She knows the secrets, so she has to make a living, and she's being pursued by these individuals. And I bring this up. People might wonder, you know, why do you bring up the Illuminators? Why? I mean, are they that big of a deal?
Why not?
Why not? It's fireworks, and actually, they are a big deal. And so I kind of just wanted to bring this to Matt's attention, to my attention, to your attention, and talk about this order, because they're pretty neat. And then you also get the whole idea that it's a secret society, and that we're gonna, things that we once knew in ages past are coming back again, and also there's this control, right? You know, the Aes Sedai are already super powerful. They've got their thing. You know, the White Cloaks are got this sphere of influence. So now you've got the Illuminators who say, we know some secrets, and here's some stuff that we have. And how do our main characters kind of access that and interact with it, you know, and use it in the story, you know, moving forward. So
yeah. Just real quick here from the Wheel of Time companion book.
Yeah.
Thanks to our Aiel chief, or Aiel clan chief, my brother Jeremy. So it does go into some stuff here where it starts talking about stuff that happens in the book. So I'll just leave it to kind of the history. The name for guild members who the Guild of Illuminators. The name for guild members who manufactured fireworks. Tarmon was the homeland of the Guild of Illuminators, and Tenchico was the location of the guild's one and only true chapter house until one was built in Kyrian. The guild was composed almost entirely of Taraboners. There was no way to enter the guild except by birth or marriage, and people of other nations who married in were never allowed to know any of the innermost guild secrets, chief of which was the method of manufacturing fireworks, including the key secret, a mixture of saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal, known in the Age of Legends as gunpowder. The money made within the guild could not be bettered outside. There were some renegade illuminators who either kept making and or selling fireworks after being kicked out, or who tried to reveal guild secrets, but these were rare since the guild would hunt down and kill such people.
Yeah.
The Illuminators discouraged anyone from cutting open any of the fireworks to see what was inside by claiming that the contents could sometimes erupt violently when exposed to air as well as to fire. And then, as we've already seen, Rand, as you said, Rand and Loyal run into that as we saw in the Great Hunt. Yeah. So then it goes into some stuff that happens, but we'll just leave it at that. So
no, that's
just
great.
Kind of like the textbook definition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's great because that is legitimately. I mean, so you see how difficult it is to get into that original house in Tenchico, which is. You have to marry into it, or you have to somehow be born into it, or whatever. They are not letting those secrets out. They are legit gonna keep that all in the family, if you will. So, yeah, it's kind of that comes up in this chapter where, because it's kind of bizarre at first. When you first encounter it in the series, you're like, what in the world? Why are they this worried about a firework maker out on her own doing her own thing? But then you start to think about it, and you're like, this is a secret. This has, it's just maybe there's more to it, right? And so I just thought, yeah, okay, that's because I remember when I first read this, I was like, who? I mean, I also thought too, it like when we get to that part, Matt has Matt and women are just kind of a thing, right? I mean, like when he's attacked in this batch of chapters, and he won't attack or strike the woman who has a knife and is about to kill him, and Tom throws a knife through and literally comes through her neck. It's crazy. She's dark friend. It's all good, people. It's all good. But yeah, so he has kind of this soft spot for Aludra here at first and wants to help, and Tom's sort of like, what are you doing? What is going on here? Why are you? But then he also has this curiosity and this fascination with fireworks. He's always had it, and so it's just something to pay attention to as we move through the reread, and just kind of watch. Well, I mean, Matt in general, I think is one of the three Taviran is what Robert Jordan does with him is really, really interesting, because you have all these different powers at work. I mean, Rand's got the one power, Perrin's got his wolf dreams and being a wolf brother. What does Matt have? We've started to see some of this, right?
We're starting to see some of it with his fighting and his luck.
Right? Exactly. So now we have this new piece where the Illuminators come in, and he's a little bit obsessed or interested in the fireworks. So, but yeah, just a quick little bit there on the Illuminators. So, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, now it is time, friends. It is time to get into this batch of chapters, and we're going to go about this a little bit differently today, just because we've got 3 different kind of threads here. So we'll go through all of the outline, the quick summary,
or 3 different patterns.
3 different, exactly. Yes. So, but yeah, we'll go through the outlines, and then we'll kind of break it down. We'll kind of follow one arc at a time. So we might be bouncing around between chapters, but it'll be fine.
So, okay. So, chapter 35, the group board a boat, the Snow Goose, followed by a young woman who tells Perrin that as a hunter for the Horn, she needs to follow interesting leads. She calls herself Aiel, meaning falcon. Chapter 36, Perrin sees Balsamon kill some dark friends for their failures. 37, the blue crane runs around and the girls decide to walk to the nearest town. 38, Nynaeve heals a maiden of the spear. 39, the girls are captured by brigands who intend to sell them to a Murdral. They recover to kill it and are joined by the Aiel they met earlier. Chapter 40, after leaving the Grey Gull, Matt helps Aludra defend herself against some of the other Illuminators. 41, the group get off in Ilion. Moraine realizes Aiel is the falcon Min saw. 42, the group are attacked by gray men but kill them all. 43, after Lan sees a Darkhounds print, Moraine discovers that Samael rules in Ilion. Chapter 44, Darkhounds attack Perrin and Moraine. Matt and Tom are attacked by suspicious travelers.
Yeah, and so I think at the top of the show I said chapter 43, but we're going to go all the way to 44 just because that's a great kind of point to cut off there. So, I can't. Yeah, so that'll be an extra chapter included in this. So if you haven't read 44 and you're really just being, just know that when we get to that discussion, I might have misspoke and said 43 last episode, but 44 is where we're going to.
Yeah.
So, okay, man.
So okay, so I think you and I kind of decided we want to start with the girls, right?
Yes. So we kind of want to start with Egwene, Nynaeve,
chapter
Elaine.
38.
Yeah. I have it here as 37.
My
right?
bad. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so we'll kind of start here. The big story here. I mean, they are again, just in recap, hunting down the Black Aja, right? Because no one else in the tower can do it.
Apparently.
Yeah. Full Aes Sedai. No. But we need these accepted to get on this. So they found some artifacts. There's some mysterious people showing up in the tower. We've had an attack from Greymen and all of that. And now they're on a vessel, the Blue Crane, and they're headed towards Tyr. That's where they're going. It's a trap. Nynaeve knows this. It's the whole spring the trap. Let's just go. Let's just see. We know it's a trap, so that's going to help us, is what they're hoping, right? At least we know it is a trap, but still, we don't know any other way to bring them out or to, try to stop them other than to spring the trap. So here they go. And every night, though, and I would say, and I think all three kind of arcs here, well, mainly Perrin and Egwene, their stories, Teleron Riyadh is a huge deal. Like we're constantly in the dream world, and we're learning about the other characters and where they're at and what they're doing, and we're seeing things. And it is a bit, I think it was a bit confusing when I first read it, as to, because they're always coming out of it asking, was this real? Was that real?
Right.
Did this actually happen? And then I just got something in this reread that, like, Rand, when he encounters Perrin, will first encounter him, and then Rand wakes up later, and what Perrin saw was actually Rand's dream. You know what I mean? And you're like, wait, what? I mean, so that was kind of cool. And we'll get to that in a second. But anyways, yeah, Egwene has been traveling to the dream world basically every night since they've left Tarvalon, and they're looking for more clues and more information. Can she eavesdrop a little bit on them? And so that's kind of the start of this. They're traveling down the river. I don't know that there's anything real significant in 37 other than she's seeing the Falcon. She's seeing Perrin fighting with a Falcon and a Hawk, and she's seeing this Aielman, right? So we're learning, I guess, sort of what she's capable of in that world, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see some of the same thing like we saw, as we've been saying, a big kind of, I'd almost say, theme of this book is everybody besides Rand. We're beginning to expand their powers, see a little bit more of what they can do. I mean, that's kind of been, to me, the theme of this book, especially with, initially, because, Matt was kind of MIA at the beginning of the book. Rand's been MIA the whole book. And so, okay, now we're taking these other characters and we're kind of making them maybe a little more powerful and see what they can do.
Don't you think it's cool? I kind of really think it's neat that we don't see Rand. I really do, because in the Great Hunt, what he does is epic, and it is being spread across the land. And so you're like, okay, have confidence in your reader that we get it. We know. All right, we understand how significant that character is, and you can literally just do a few things with him, have the other characters interact with him through the dream world or whatever, or think about him and think about what his significance, and you don't really need to even touch that. It's just a great way then to go. It's why we're allowed to have such a big cast of characters in these books, because Robert Jordan does stuff just like that. Now, some people will criticize him later on in the series when, we'll get it, where characters just disappear for a while. But still really cool. So yeah, they are. We're expanding Egwene's powers. One thing she does see that I thought was interesting is she figures out that Matt is being followed by a gray man. And so she's seeing things and it's giving us clues. We're sort of like, oh shoot. I mean, that then we already going backwards in the book. We know that he is like dark friends are after him, and we don't really know if sometimes like what we're seeing, and we'll see it with Rand here in a second, is that you have dark friends showing up and right beside them you have gray men as well, and we don't even know it necessarily, and that's what's kind of scary. And I can't wait for the show when they do that. I mean, just like you think as the viewer or the reader, you see the attack coming, and then you find out afterwards how close they were to being killed because of someone who we can't even see or we don't quite understand. So
right, well, and that's one of the things we talked about last week, or last time I should say, was the gray man, right, and the difference between a gray man and a dark friend. And it's not necessarily it's not this chapter because it's a Perrin chapter. And just to quickly just to go back to it a little bit, we're going to discuss more about Perrin, but this wasn't necessarily him. It was more you get to see Balsamon talking, and I messaged you and I was like, because they're talking about just another dark friend social, right, if you will, right, and the difference between they talk about it a little bit there too, like the difference of a dark friend, and that hey, they're kind of choosing, you have the ability to kind of choose what it is, I'm going to choose to follow him, and whatever, and the gray men are a little bit different, right, because they're giving themselves completely over, and so there's definitely a difference there, and you see that with that Balsamon conversation where Lanfear is like, kind of do what I want, really kind of a thing. She's like, I still serve the Dark One, which and we got to come back to this, because to me that was huge, because I texted you and I said, hold on a second, because it seems to me that the whole thing has been that Balsamon is the Dark One.
Yeah.
But no, Balsamon serves the Dark One, because he's been our central evil guy. And I was like, hold on a second here. Yeah.
You texted me about that, and you said, I think you said, quoted it, and you said, hold on a second. You said, like Lanfear was almost asking Balsamon if he still served, or if he was, or something like was asking how loyal he was to the Dark One. And you went, wait, hold on a second. I thought he was the Dark One. Right. And you're like, so that's that first kind of indicator, like, wait a second, what is up with this guy, Balsamon, that we've been seeing in our dreams this whole time? Right. Yeah. And you texted me and you were like, have you finished yet? And I was like, no. And you're like, oh, okay. So in our next batch of chapters, which I'm not to yet, but I mean, it's not really spoilers. We're going to be there next time. I guess that gets explained a little bit further. And you said there's a lot of people who miss that, and I was like, oh yeah, like that. So that's actually why. So when you texted me, because it's pretty quick. Oh, you finished the book? It's a pretty quick line. Yeah, sincerely, I thought you finished the book. I texted you. I was like, oh wow, Matt's like blitzing through this. Like, wow, holy cow. And you're like, no, it's this part. And I'm like, oh Jesus, like that is like one of those kind of clues, right? There's these little tiny things. Because up until now, our figure, the guy that Rand keeps seeing in his dreams and everything, is Balsamon. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but even Luce Theron in the prologue of Eye of the World, that's who's talking to him is Balsamon, right? Well, okay. Well, they're oh, Matt. Okay, maybe not. I always ask the questions that get us in trouble. No, what we can discuss that next episode. Next time. Yeah, okay. I think next episode we can discuss that in full, because that is it. But he is the guy who we've been hearing about, even if you don't want to go back that far, like in the Trolloc tongue and stuff, like Balsamon is sort of like, when it's translated out, I think that name does indicate the Dark One. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, wait, what? This is also the guy who shows up at the beginning of the Great Hunt, and we have the whole Dark Friend social, right? I mean, so that it is interesting to look at, and I guess we'll just wait. We'll table it for now. We'll talk about it next time, because there's a lot more stuff that gets, and I want to talk about those things, because then we can start to connect all the dots. But you got the first indicator that, like Lanfear, who is there, literally does not act the way that you think she should act towards, air quote, the Dark One, right. Which is what you said to me. You're like, that doesn't seem right. Why wouldn't she, she's not seemingly.
Well, she simply by asking, do you still serve the Dark One, indicates, well, he's obviously not the Dark One. So
yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah, I just up until this point he has been our key figure. But I guess the thing is, let's tie it back to Gray Men, is so even the Forsaken, right, are different than Gray Men.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, so there's just different levels, to it. I mean, right. You can go back and look at like the Gray Men are called soulless. I mean, they're
right.
There's something extra that has been done to them. Not constructs, as I said, not shadow spawn. I mean, technically they're listed under shadow spawn, but they aren't necessarily a construct using the power. But it's the soul separation. It's the fact that they are hollow almost, and that makes them kind of unseen. Like it's difficult to see them in attacking and stuff like that. Or even to be detected by Moraine or Lan or others. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that for now. We're not gonna get into a whole.
Okay. Too spoiler.
We've heard about the Forsaken. I guess we can. We'll talk about. Well, I'll tell you right now. Next episode we're gonna be talking about all of that. So we'll get
okay.
There. Yeah. But so it's just interesting. It's significant that, as I said, Egwene is seeing a Gray Man following Matt, and I told you they just keep kind of like it's this new thing
showing up.
Yeah. So like, what are these guys about? What's going on? Who's trying to kill who? What's happening here? The ship though kind of gets caught up on some runs aground, and they decide to hop off. Nynaeve says, "Let's go to the nearest village," and boom, they're moving. And this is where you texted me again, and you said, Avienda. You're like, wow,
shows
who
up,
is
man.
this? Who is this? Yeah, and I was like, yeah, okay. And this is one of those things that you going into the series, I'm not gonna say anything spoiler, but like you knew that this character exists, and we're not gonna talk about her significance or anything, but you at least knew that she existed, and you were excited to get to this character.
Her.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And I think in general we're excited to get to more of the Aiel because we've been hearing about the Aiel War. We've been hearing that Rand looks like the Aiel. I think you said, didn't you say that it says that she looks like Rand's cousin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Egwene says that.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, the Maidens of the Spear, man. What'd you think overall? Like they're kind of
they're pretty cool. They're definitely pretty hardcore. And like I think the interesting thing for me about that chapter, right, is how they're all talking to each other, and there's that kind of cultural like language barrier, and it's like every time they answer a question, they answer it as if it's like, how do you like not know that, right? You know what I mean? Like they keep saying like they keep answering questions as if like, oh, what they mean like what they're saying is like the sky is blue, right? Like or something like that, or like water is wet, like that's like they keep using that reference to answer everything it is that they say, and so there's just like a huge cultural like difference but between the two. Like at one point Egwene is talking about swimming, and they're like, we don't know what that is. We don't know what you mean, because they don't have water that deep there, and so it's just so different. The conversations between them, their whole marriage thing is like really weird, right? Where it's like they don't marry, but if they do, like have a child, they can like leave, or like the child gets like, it's like, well, the child, they don't know who the mother is because so that way they can stay in the guild. And it's just really, it's all just kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I think right now, I mean, you're just getting sort of the initial rules and some of those customs that are kind of strange. And it's almost like, I think of like when Dany is in Essos and they're just like, it is known, like this is the way in which things are done Thrones, here. Yeah. And then when you're in Randland here, like you see these two, it'd be like those individuals from Essos and Westeros and Game of Thrones coming together and like being on completely different different customs, different ways of life. And so now we're kind of seeing that in the Aiel coming into the Westlands, the Greenlands, whatever they're in here, call them wetlanders and stuff, and boom, here they are. And as you say, yeah, they're not used to the water. They're not used to crossing great bodies of water, and that's something Egwene actually asked them about. And she's impressed even that they were able to do that. Elaine even says, I mean, they're realizing they don't know enough about the Aiel, and they're curious. Nynaeve wants to move on, but the other two girls are really interested, highly interested, and they take a great interest in their conversation. And they call them wise ones. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, they call them wise ones. So, and you're like, now
clearly they know about them, right? And
yes.
I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just, it is interesting because then you have like Egwene who, as she's learning about them, and almost seems like she's kind of like, okay, like I can get on board with this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. And like there's such respect to, so they're wed to the spear. Their way of life is this. I mean, they are warriors, absolute warriors, and but yeah, I mean, Egwene's curious. She's interested in it. She likes it. It's intriguing. And then there's this respect. They know about Aes Sedai. And remember, they're wearing their rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going around saying that they are. I mean, they're trying to be, again, fly under the radar here, but at the same time, they're not telling people they're accepted. I mean, they're trying to pull off the whole idea that they are full on Aes Sedai. You get more respect. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That way. So. But they actually have an individual who is hurt among them. And Nynaeve has to get real pissed off to heal Dallin, right?
It seems that's what happens, man. When Nynaeve gets angry, everything goes her way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's something. Yeah. So yeah, she has to get kind of pissed. She has to do a few of the whole braid tugs, she's pulling on her braid and but she's able to heal. And they're impressed. You start to learn about their wise ones a little bit and how they were impressed with Nynaeve's ability to heal, so that's kind of cool. I guess just something to put away and think about when, what are the differences between the two? Because seemingly they have these individuals who are wise ones, and then you have Aes Sedai, and you're trying to figure out, like, what does that mean? We don't know anything about them. We just keep... Like there's just a small reference to them in this batch of chapters, so
right, yeah, and then as their kind of story is continuing, chapter 39 is where they they get captured. But before that is when they come to a river, and they say, well, like the idea of swimming is like frightening to them, and they reply, well, we built we once built a raft, right, to cross the things. And so it's just interesting to see like how different they are and what they think. And then Elaine kind of realizes she doesn't know as much of them as she thought she did, right? Because she's kind of like, more studied obviously than Nynaeve and Egwene in her upbringing, and so she's finding all of these customs and things interesting. And so I think it's a good like culture kind of shock to our girls to see more of this, because it seems like a lot of people don't really, if I'm as I've looked at the map, I mean the Aiel Waste is like, I mean it's totally to the east, and I mean, and so it does not seem like people, especially from the two rivers, which is like as you go further west, would really interact with Aiel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's been a few mentions about people who would try to cross it, who could cross it, who were allowed to, and then you're right though, but there's not a whole lot of interaction. And so what Elaine thinks she knows from books and from text and from her upbringing and her education, she's realizing, wow, this is I think there's a lesson there. Once you meet somebody and you actually hear them talk and you hear them articulate their beliefs, their customs, their way of life, it's way different than what we read in textbooks sometimes, So yeah, that was interesting. They do kind of share though. They're trying to figure out why the Aiel are actually there. What are they doing here?
Yeah. What are they doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're looking for somebody, right?
Yep. He who comes with the dawn.
Yes. So who is that? And they start to kind of speculate that maybe that's Rand. Maybe that is Rand. So
and then they start to go down that prophecy, right? That it's like, well, he'll be of this. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like he will be born of this tribe, raised in another tribe, and like of all of these things, right? And then they're like, well, that does seem like an awful lot like Rand.
yeah. It's almost like you get the Aiel version, and then you kind of we've already had some talking and some prophecies of the dragon, and we're like, well, that kind of sounds similar. There must be something to that. So yeah.
Well, now it seems like all of Randland, right, is searching for something, right? You had obviously the Aes Sedai that were searching for the real dragon. You've got the Aiel, which are kind of isolated away from everybody. They're searching for he who comes with the dawn. So we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm assuming maybe if we meet some of their wise ones or something like that, then we'll get to see what maybe signs that they're seeing that are causing them to be like, okay, well, it's time to go search.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, like what is it that is causing everyone?
What's causing them? Yeah, to go right.
Yeah, and to go on the search. I mean, gosh, you're actually right. We've got the Hunters of the Horn are out doing their thing, even though we know where the horn's at.
We know where it's at.
Yeah, we'll get to
and that's interesting, and we'll go back to it when Fael is talking to Perrin about where she thinks it is, right?
Yeah,
which is
yes,
yeah,
yeah, that was pretty cool,
and why she comes up with those theories.
Yeah, and so basically, just to kind of, I mean, here they kind of part ways. We learned that Aviendha follows them, and thank God she did. Thank the light, I should say, because they're taken, they're captured. And they are actually being sold to a Murdral. Like, what? So they wake up and they are, these men
they're bound up. They've been captured.
Right, and they're locked up in this building. They're kind of overhearing conversations and stuff, and and it's also odd that it's not that they didn't know they weren't Aes Sedai. They did know. They actually knew that they were somewhat related. So. It's not like it was a mistake. They took them, and so that's. I mean, these guys have got to be some bad dudes to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen how people act with Moraine. You don't mess with the Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and they think they can sell her to make some serious money.
Right. And so they're also. I think there's. I think I could be wrong. Aren't they drinking something, or they were making them, or there was something that was keeping them kind of unconscious or whatever, and then they were trying to make sure that they were not waking up, because they wake up, they're going to use power. Yeah. So anyways, again, you have Nynaeve who has to wake up and
get upset.
Elaine is really hurt. She's actually
and Nynaeve after getting upset, Nynaeve heals her.
Right. Yep. And
then we have so then they break out of the building. And they go straight into a battle, and they got Aiel on their side, so it's pretty sweet. And then there's a Murdral, or there's three Murdral on the other side.
Yeah, it's a fight, man. I mean, it's just like it's what's crazy is that most people would see a Murdral and they'd be out, they'd be done,
right?
Like, but these maidens
except
of the
Tom
spear,
Maryland,
except for Tom Maryland, that's right.
Yeah.
But these maidens are like, we're going in, like these Aiel are like, no, we're not putting up with this. And they saw them be taken. Aviendha goes back for help and gets more of the Aiel. They show up and they just go at it. At it. So, and then Nynaeve does some stuff with the one power that we don't know about yet, and we're sort of like, what is she doing? Seems like she did some cool stuff.
She does do something we kind of have heard about yet. We've heard this term Balefire, which is what she uses, and they realize that's what it is because they talked about it a little bit earlier, where they said they didn't know what Balefire was because they'd heard it, and then Nynaeve uses it.
Yeah, and so I mean, again, more powers, going Super Saiyan. You know what I mean? Just leveling up here. Yeah. So that's cool. So that's pretty much that. That's what I don't think there's any other in this batch of chapters. That's where we kind of leave them. I think if we miss something, we'll cover it in the extended. But I'm pretty sure they take care of business there with the Aiel, and now they've got
that's it for them.
Yeah, we've got like a really good relationship going now with the Aiel. they've really, I think, impressed Nynaeve and Elaine and Egwene. Like, you know.
So, okay. Well, who do you want to do next? You want to do Perrin?
Actually, let's do just Matt real quick, just because his is kind of short, and then Perrin is sort of the end of this. We'll finish it out with Perrin. So Matt, it looks like
chapter 40.
Chapter 40, yeah. And as I said, so you know, he was rolling the dice. He's got his letter from the Amerlin. He's got the note, gets him out of Tar Valon, and he's on his way to deliver a message to Elaine's mother, just to make sure that everything is okay. It gets him out of Tar Valon, gets him back with Tom. They're moving across the countryside, and I brought it up in sort of our village council, but it's the Illuminator out the gate that's really interesting. It's fascinating that he comes across this individual, Aludra, and is he wants to like give her gold at one point, like after to kind of help her out, but it just shows a side of Matt that like he wanted to help even when Tom Merrilin didn't want to help. So they're at Erangel. Well, let's see, no, they were on the Grey Gull, right, and then they show up here, and there's this town that they're in, and it's flooded with refugees from the war in Cairhien. And I guess that's important. We should mention that Cairhien is in civil war, and I blame Tom Merrilin for all of that.
Well, yeah, you should.
You know, so King Galdrian was killed, and it was, you know, a lot of stuff went down. You know, and again, you could say you had a lot of, you know, Taviran moving through that big city. Did that cause some of it? Were there things put in motion there? Because Elaine earlier thinks about Cairhien and what's going on, and how the bond between Andor and Cairhien, or you know, in Caemlyn has it's strengthened. So and just the trade and everything, and that being a good thing. And then we see this small town, and there's some major war happening there. So they basically can't find a place to stay. I mean, they can't find anywhere to, you know, they end up in a hayloft.
They end up in a hayloft, right? Because, and you know, it's because, well, they were, you know, part of it is also the money too. I mean, things are like outrageous prices and stuff like that. But he's kind of thinking, hey, as long as I keep winning at dice, you know, well, it'll be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's not really worried about that, is he? He's like, just make it up later.
Right, exactly. I mean, gosh, I'd be if I kept winning, I'd make sure my purse was, you know, full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so we get that little bit there in chapter 40, and then really as I said, we're going all the way to chapter 44. So again, if you haven't read this yet, this might be right at the end here.
Well, so, he meets a woman.
Yeah, Aludra,
yeah,
which I mentioned. Yeah, he's so sorry. The Illuminator gets the firework, the whole thing. Yeah, and she's being pursued by other Illuminators who are trying to kill her. They're trying to silence her, or make sure. They're wondering why she is outselling fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there is actually one little bit more of Matt. It's in the second part of chapter 44.
Yeah, that's where I was going to. Yeah, so at the very end there, in 44, let's see what we get here. So this is where they're sitting around a campfire. Oh yeah, this is right. This is a pretty big deal. So it kind of reminds me of when Rand earlier in the book was sitting around his own campfire, and he's approached, and we're going to get to the Perrin Rand stuff, but like several times Rand is out on the countryside and he's approached by travelers, and they're trying to kill him. Sometimes he's approached by his friends, right? And they look like his friends, but they're not. You know, he thinks it's Perrin, he thinks it's Matt, he thinks it's Egwene and someone in disguise, and he's like, oh my gosh, they're trying to kill him. So, but yeah, this was cool. I mean, this was just another moment where Tom Merrilin is just a badass, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and Tom, Tom starts demanding to know, you know, like what's going on, right? Before Tom, you know, takes that knife and, you know, boom, before she can even speak, It's sticking out of her throat. And then Matt turns to Tom, demanding to know why he killed her, right? And then Tom pulls out, hey, well, it's what I do. I mean,
oh yeah, it goes to Matt's sort of weakness where he won't strike or hurt a woman. He won't. It's just something he won't do that. And Tom is just, I think Matt kind of thinks, because he starts to almost assume that these men were working for her or with her, or maybe she somehow got involved in something that was over her head, and he wants to almost like question her. And Tom's like, no, we're not doing that. Zing! Here comes the knife.
Boom. And then he sees that, hey, she's got a knife in her hand. So.
Yep. Yeah. So he realizes, like, all right, wait, is he lucky there, Matt, or is it just Tom Maryland's a boss? I like to say
it could be both.
Yeah, a little bit of both, maybe. Okay. So, but that's really it for Matt. I mean, that's sort of his just a small little bit for him.
All right. So let's go back to 36, which is Perrin. So last time with Perrin, he had just met, some of these people. So we're going to get introduced into with Aiel here, right? The Falcon. So Perrin was they were kind of in a camp, right? So he goes out, he's in search, right? And he after trying after he tries a couple of these cabins he's searching for, he ends up finding the one that he shares with Loyal. Loyal seems eager to talk about the events, but Perrin goes to sleep. So as immediately Perrin is in a dream, right? There's like a gray fog that surrounds him. The wolf, he knows it's Hopper, right? Hopper tells him to follow him, and the wolf wants to show him something. He walks through the mist for a while, and he ends up coming on a Dark Friend social, as we like to call it. The Dark Friends are summoned to Balsamon in their sleep. Balsamon kills one of them for letting the boy escape Tarvalin. Perrin sees a conversation between Balsamon and Lanfear. Both of them seem convinced their plans to serve the Great Lord of the Dark will be successful, and they both think very little of the other. So, I mean, again, as we brought this up a little bit, this was huge because everything we've been indicated to up to this point is that Balsamon is the Dark One. So I guess that's not the case. There is somebody above him, and Lanfear kind of says, I kind of do what I want. I've waited. I've done my time. I still serve the Dark One, but I'm just doing it my way, basically.
Yeah. It's weird. It is kind of confusing, even to Perrin. Like, what is going on here? This whole time since the Eye of the World, we've been thinking that Balsamon is our main, the Dark One. I mean, there's flames in his eyes and everything. It's and then we see Lanfear show up here, and this is why he asked the question: was that real? He also is confused as to how Hopper is here, because Hopper died. He saw Hopper die. Right. And Hopper's here. And again, Hopper keeps saying to him the whole time, you're not ready, young bull. You're not ready. like this is dangerous. Like you shouldn't be here. But yet he's going to guide him, because Perrin's going to stay and try to, learn what he can. And actually, I don't even think Perrin's really intentionally thrusting himself into this world. It's just part of who he is.
Right. So Perrin, you're right. So after their kind of conversation, Hopper takes Perrin away, right? Perrin's really confused about what he just saw. Was all this real? Was it not? Then he comes across another scene, and he sees Rand being hunted by Myrddraal, and Rand used the one power and kills them. He tries to warn Rand, and he is rewarded with an attack with the one power, and Perrin wakes up in pain.
Yeah, which goes back to that question: what is this real? Well, I mean, kind of seems like maybe if you're getting hurt there, and then he wakes up,
he has a small little burn on his chest.
Right, exactly. And what I thought was interesting is right after that, and I'll see if I can maybe find it in the actual text here. But it's so again 36. You switch over to Rand's point of view, and I think what originally, I would love to hear what people thought about this when you're originally seeing someone like Egwene or Perrin in the dream world, and they're interacting with someone else. The question is that real? Are they actually appearing there, or is that actually, are they in somebody else's dream, or is this not happening at all? Like, what are they? Or are they seeing events? Is it almost like, are they a ghosty, like misty figure looking at Rand on a real campfire, flesh and blood. And that's originally what I think of. I think, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're looking in, they're seeing this, and they're seeing the real world. But then you flash over to Rand, and he's waking up from his dream fighting the Dark Friends. And so you're like, oh, okay, so he was dreaming too? You know what I mean?
Right.
I just think that's interesting, you know?
Right, yeah. How is it that they appear, right? And then, the other thing is Rand uses the power on Perrin, and all he has is a small burn. So are you more protected if you're in the dream world? Right? I mean, that's kind of something to think about too.
Yeah, like that's a great question. Like, is he on his way out? Is it less effective? Like what yeah, how does that work?
Can you kill somebody if you're in the regular world and they're in the dream world? And can they kill you? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, all great questions.
I love seeing the smirks on Ez's,
yeah.
on Ez's face.
So I'm like, yeah, great question. Yeah, because it is fascinating. Like it's a part of one of the reasons people like Wheel of Time so much is Robert Jordan does just build these, these rules. I mean, he comes up and he's drawing from mythologies and other stories and things like that too. But like it's very original too, in that you're like, what is this world and what are the rules and things that you can and can't do inside of it, and how does it all work? And you have to really pay attention. You get little pieces here along the way. So yeah, but he comes out of that, and one of the big things is Perrin he's questioning all of it. He is hurt. He then now does something he's been resistant to do, which is to go to Moraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Moraine and say, "Here's what's been going on."
Right. Yeah, and then Moraine tells him, his dreams. Hey, you better be careful because your dreams would be enough for the Red Aja to gentle you. Just like by that, they're like, hey, nope, we got to put an end to this. So there's nothing in Tarvalon records that say anything about wolf dreams. So this is either something new or something they just haven't found in ancient times, which is to me a little bit more what it seems like. Yeah, so she refuses to heal his burn. He should let it heal naturally and let it serve as a reminder. Perrin also talks about the name Zareen, right? Without telling Moraine much about her. Moraine explains the name to Perrin. Her mother apparently thought she would be a heartbreaker. Perrin goes on deck to think things over.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta think it over. Yeah, who is this girl? What is her significance? Well, and Fael's interesting. What did you think? I guess just your overall. I know. Last time we talked about Fael just a little bit. Well, sort of. Mm-hmm. An individual who was staring at Perrin, but now, she's along for the ride here. She sees that they're interesting, and she's sticking with them.
Yeah. I mean, she's pretty cool. I'm trying to find it here where it's the next chapter, right? Chapter 41, where she's telling him about the heroes, the horn, and where she has her ideas for it.
Yes.
Right, and
because she kind of thinks like she is a hunter of the horn. She's one of those,
right?
Like she's gone out and trying to find it, and that was the thing. The whole just for a recap for people, when we first encountered this group, there are several hunters, and they're supposed to be great big, awesome warriors, and they're out just traversing the land. They come across Aiel, and they said that they came across like 20 of them, and it was more like 2, and so that was the whole thing. But Fael is highly interested in this group, and you're looking for trails. You're looking for something that like what's gonna get me to the horn, something strange, something that's off, something that maybe would indicate that the horn is down this path. And she said there was like nothing more strange than than Perrin. Actually, Perrin was the main thing. I mean, she knew that Moraine was an Aes Sedai, Lan was her warder, the Ogier is interesting, and then this guy Perrin, who of all of them she couldn't figure out, and that's what's got her kind of hooked here and saying I'm gonna go with these guys, because didn't she originally say that she thinks it's in the Mountains of Mist?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So she thinks the horn is there, and they were they had disagreements as to where. I think they were headed in that direction. They might have split, but they were searching in kind of a group, and now she's like, no, I'm going with these guys.
Yeah, and she's convinced that they will lead her to the horn, right? And of course they don't say anything about it because they already know where it's at, right? We already found it. And so then Moiraine gives up on the idea that tried to convince her to leave. And so basically Moiraine kind of tells Perrin, well, she's your responsibility now. Right?
Yeah.
She's here because of you. You're a Taviran. This is the deal. So she's your responsibility. And then Fael's kind of like, gets upset by that, whatever. And Perrin's like, I didn't ask her to come. I didn't ask her to come along, but she wants to know who this Min is and if he is indeed a Taviran. And so she's definitely intrigued. And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. And, the whole thing with her name too is really interesting because in a second here we're gonna I think it just happened where
it did, yeah.
You're talking about the one I wanted to mention was oh gosh, I just forgot his name. Mandarb, right? The horse, he gets made fun of. She's made fun of because she originally says that was her name and it's Lan's horse and this whole thing. So she's kind of got three different names when we first meet her, and we just don't really know who she is. And then we're realizing, okay, she's tied to Perrin. But do you think it's because of Perrin's Taviran nature that she's attracted and wants to stay with him, or is it more of the wolf? Because there's two things, right? Perrin is Taviran, and he's also he's tied somehow to the wolves. And to the dream world, he's got the off-putting eyes. I guess at this point, I'm just wondering what you think Fael is more interested in. Is it the pull of the Taviran? Is that what's doing it, or is it that she looked?
Yeah, I'd say probably the pull. Well, right now I'm going to have to go with the pull of the Taviran, just because we know more about it, and we still really don't know a lot of the wolf stuff. So I don't know what it is yet, so I can't say. But she calls herself the Falcon, and then he's a wolf. So there's kind of that animal nature to it. But I would say more so the Taviran, or I mean maybe it's neither. And she's just really intrigued because she's searching for the Horn of Valir. If you're searching for an ancient thing like the Horn of Valir. And then you come across somebody who you now know is Taviran, which is also incredibly rare and incredibly powerful. I'd be following them too. I mean, they're way more likely of a candidate than your random buddies who that you're searching for.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is that it's got to be a combination of all of them because she is seeing sort of the way, and it's everything about Perrin. I mean, the way he treats the Aiel, it's what he does there. It's the fact that he's with that group. It's the fact that his eyes are. It's the first sort of thing across the dining room or whatever, the common room. She sees him and is making eye contact, and he's I'll just say it. I mean, there's attraction. There's something going on. She's
definitely. So, all right. So, hey, chapter 42. They are attacked by gray men, right? So, it starts off with Fael tells Perrin a little bit about Ilion. The hunt of the horn started there. People seem to be familiar with the Ogier, but loyal. I mean, it's got to be weird being an Ogier just because they look like Trollocs, and people are whoa, what's that? So poor Loyal. I always feel bad for him. Right. So that's kind of going on. So they go into an inn called Easing the Badger. Perrin has no idea what is meant by that. Must be a story he doesn't know. But there's music. There's a girl. There's dancing on one of the tables. The songs that they're playing is kind of familiar to Perrin. The innkeeper's name is Naida, and she knows Moiraine as Mistress Mari. She and Moiraine seem to know each other. Naida tells her some stories about what's been going on. It's at the inns. It's where you always that's where all the gossip is. It's where all the news is.
Oh yeah.
There's an unusual number of fights at the inn, and which is why Naida hired the singer. The new lord has been installed by the Council of 9. Nobody seems to know much about him. Strangely enough, Naida has some disturbing dreams about him. The council have also forbidden ships to leave for the port of Tyr, which is, they're a traditional enemy of Ilion. Moiraine's disturbed by what she's here, and even Perrin can smell fear on her.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, there is sort of a weird.
I'm gonna pull up my map here just because I want to see exactly which one is where
we're at.
Because I know where Tyr is. Tyr is like all the way. That's like on southeast. It's like on the southern coast. But where is Ilion at?
Yeah, so it should be just west, and it's also south. So they're almost like bordering one another. So so there's some competition. I mean, because one of the things that's mentioned in here is that they have forbidden kind of this travel back and forth between Ilion and Tyr, and actually go all the way back to Bail Doman, our captain, who, I mean, he's traveling. Remember him back in the Great Hunt and stuff, and him talking about. I mean, he references sort of Tyr and Ilion a little bit, and some of the divide between the two, or the competitiveness, or what have you. And we're realizing though in Ilion that people are not happy. It's almost like there's a real like thick, I don't know, cloud of like just dark clouds. It's always. It just seems kind of. Everyone's in a bad mood, and think people are depressed, and it just doesn't seem something's wrong, something smells wrong, I guess. Did you find it?
Okay, oh, I just got my good map out here. I got a good one on this computer. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Oh, okay. So it is okay. So Ilion is just west of Tyr. It is also on the southern coast, down there by the Sea of the Storms. Mm-hmm. They actually kind of so. It's actually almost like it goes out. Then you've got two kind of extending points that go. One comes down here on Tyr, and the other. So it's actually kind of its own gulf or bay or whatever you kind of want to call it here. Yeah, and so it's boom. They're right off each other. I mean, you would not need to take a boat there. I mean, it looks like you could go straight over there. There's these Dorleone hills that you'd have to cross, but I mean, you could just go right across the coast to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely going to be another way. I think the thing is they're trying to one of the quicker ways, like if you can take the river down and then you can hop on a boat and head over that way, the whole thing. But yeah, there's something going on with the Council of Nine. A new lord has been raised, and we're sort of like, okay, we're getting the politics of this place, and really, what's gonna clue us in here that something major is wrong. Not even just that there's this eeriness or this feeling that Perrin has, but it's the attack of these Greymen in this inn, and easing the badger that show up. And you learn something. I saved, so I didn't mention this last week just because I knew this was coming up here. Perrin has an ability to sniff them out.
Yes, he does.
Back to the
He's not hearing, but he can also sniff.
He can, right? Because that's the thing. Like, they were able to we go back to the tower, and the Greymen could slip past warders and other full Aes Sedai and things, and Perrin gets this sense, his wolf sense, we'll call it. And he actually he feels kind of this excitement, almost like he's like a wolf getting ready for a fight, almost like there's a feeling, that a sense. And then he also smells something that's kind of wrong, and that's when he realizes that these guys are walking towards them carrying knives. No one else is noticing him, nothing. And then he's the one who calls them out and says, boom, there they are. Like, Lan might have realized when they were right on top of him, but Perrin gives them a couple seconds. Like, every second mattered. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that he was able to kind of point them out, see them. Moraine then has to use her powers, and it's revealed that she is Aes Sedai, which is like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's all six of them. All six of these guys lay there, and Moraine recognizes them and says they're Greymen. And you're like, what? Mm-hmm. So,
speaking of which, by the way, where is Huron?
That's the thing. I mean, you asked me in the Great Hunt, like, oh, what happened? And I'm like, he is.
He just kind of goes MIA.
Yeah, he went back to Lord Agelmar and reported on everything that was happening, and then you have the rest of the Shienarans at the beginning of this book Masima and Uno are there, right? And they go on different tasks, and some of the some of the Shanarans are calling Rand the Lord Dragon. He leaves them, so they're doing their thing. But Huron went back to Shinar, and is there.
So
but I love him. I mean, I can't say, you know,
it's not for a while. We won't see him again.
Yeah, he's. I mean, honestly, no, he's unfortunately a character who I wish was in a lot more of the series, but you know, I don't want people to get mad at me for saying something that I shouldn't. But yeah, no. So yeah, he's out. So.
Okay, well, that's fine. Okay, so anywho, where are we at here? So,
they attack the Greymen. They attack, and
right,
we're good there. So we're on to 43. Which
Lan.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Lan wants to know, you know, how you know he even recognized the Gray Men. You know, that's beyond the capabilities of a warder, right? After Moraine leaves, Perrin says, you know, as you said, he sniffed him, right? So we got that. Yeah, it's just great. But you know what? Who else could have sniffed him? Is Huron. Okay.
I like to think so for sure. So, yeah. It's interesting. It's really good to know. We then do get introduced to the idea of Darkhounds, and I think maybe next time I'll talk more about Darkhounds and what they are.
I was about to grab the book, but we can save that for next time.
I mean, if you want to, you can grab it. Like I think it's fine. I mean, we just because they are, you know, interesting.
Well, that can be our village council for next episode.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's like wow. I mean. They are the fact that they react in such a way that makes you go, like I keep saying it. It's like we had Murdral, which were bad. The Fades, bad news. Trollocs are bad, you know. And then we hear about at the end of the Eye of the World, we got Forsaken. And we're like, oh shoot, that's really bad. That's really bad. And then we kind of go away from that. We can't, you know. And then we get into the Shan-Chen show up, and then we get into. These gray men show up, and you're like, oh shoot, these are like assassins, right? And then you get to these Darkhounds, and the way that Moraine acts at hearing that news that they could be that Darkhounds could be on their trail, it's just bad. I mean, it's you know, in her mind, like this is not good. They're super worried about this. Land is able to find this print. Moraine sort of believes that there is something else going on here in Ilion. She believes that someone else is kind of in control of things. There's too much going on. There's too much influence. She's sensing the city, the inn, the people around. The Gray Men attack. Darkhounds. What does that all mean? So the smell of burnt sulfur is stronger, and that's what Lan is looking at prints of what seems to be a giant dog. Only dogs don't leave prints on stone, so it's almost like this print was burned into or was actual stone, and Lan is just on his warder duty, ready to go, trying to keep him safe. I mean, I think he has is this where he has the argument with Moraine, or is it coming up here where there's going to be an argument between the two of them about something, and maybe I don't want to jump too far ahead. But anyways, so yeah, Lan tells them the prints are from a Darkhound, and it was probably looking for something and went back to report now that it has found it. So secrecy is their whole thing. They're trying to get through, right. and they don't want to draw any attention to themselves, but they've been spotted. So now what's up? What do you do?
Right. Yeah, and Perrin gets upset because he wants to know why neither Lan or Moraine sensed it. Right. Well, it's because you're a sniffer, bro. And that's why you can,
this is your role in the story. We need you to step up.
Everybody's got totally different powers. So, Perrin takes the Perrin kind of goes to bed. Boom, goes back into a dream, right? And he sees Matt playing dice with Balsamon.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tries to warn Matt, but it suddenly changed. Then he sees Hopper. He asked why he had to see the meeting between Lanfear and Balsamon, or Moonhunter and Heartfang, as Hopper calls them. Yeah, so Moonhunter and Heartfang. So Moonhunter being Lanfear, Heartfang being Balsamon. He also wants to know whether what he sees is real. Hopper doesn't give him an answer. Well, a straight answer anyway. And Perrin tells him he's being hunted by gray men and Darkhounds, the Not Dead and Shadow Brothers to Hopper. So it seems like Hopper's kind of got different names for different things. The only thing he will tell him is that the last hunt is coming to Perrin, and he has to flee. He has to flee the Darkhounds. What that message and that's just kind of Perrin wakes up, and that's kind of the message that's hearing him. When he wakes up, Fail's watching him. She's puzzled. She still hasn't puzzled out who he is. She's trying to figure it out. Then we find out the Forsaken are on loose and one of them rules Ilion.
Yeah. That's so like Moiraine is trying. She takes a second where she kind of goes on her own and just says like, I need some time. I need to think. Like I need to read the pattern. I need to interpret what is being shown to me. And that's cool. I can't wait to see those moments where she just kind of goes on a little sidebar, and it's almost like I picture her meditating in the Force, just sort of like letting stuff come to her. So she's got to be on it. I mean, they're being tracked by Greymen. These Hopper calls them Shadow Brothers, right? These Darkhounds are like, showing up, and he's saying, you got to flee. You got to get out of there. And so Moiraine comes back and says, Ilion is ruled by one of the Forsaken. And that's bad. That's bad news. And really, if you think about it like this, so one of the Forsaken, it's kind of like that, this Forsaken, it comes up here in a second, has a pack of Darkhounds. It's like they each have kind of like their like underlings, right? You can see how, and so you could send out like who's sending the Greymen, who's sending out the Darkhounds, and then you look at proximity and say like, what's one, we're learning that more of them are out too. So we saw Balsamon. We actually, I don't think we covered it, but there was someone else standing there too. And there's more on that as well. Matt is going to have his story arc in the next batch of chapters is going to shed some light on who else we were seeing in the dream world and stuff, and who else is standing there. So we'll save that for later. But I mean, dude, the thing is, like, these Darkhounds are being controlled and sent after on the trail of Moiraine and these Ta'Veren.
Right, and they're hardcore. These Darkhounds. I mean, Lan says that you can't even the fastest horse cannot outrun them.
No.
So you're gonna have to fight them.
Right. Exactly. So this is where they do decide to try as best as they can to run, to get away from them, right? And they find a good spot, and basically it's turn and fight. You can only run so far. They found a good position where they can defend themselves, make this stand. Perrin tries to pull out a bow and says, I'm going to have at him here, reminiscing about Emmons Field and some of the archery competitions. And think back again to was it Rand with like the golem like type thing that was in the portal stone and trying to shoot it in the eye and stuff. So I thought, okay, here we go, Perrin pulling out his bow, trying to do what he can, because Lan says that's probably not going to do a thing. That's probably not going to do anything. And it's Moiraine. She has her moment here. This is a really cool, awesome moment where
is it?
You don't think so?
Well, she takes out like 9 of those things, and then Fail asks her how she did it, and she says, "I did something that was forbidden."
Yeah.
I mean,
is she a dark friend?
No, I don't think so. I definitely don't think that.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I mean, you're right.
If Moiraine was a dark friend, based upon what everybody else who can sneak into the White Tower, I mean. I think the series wouldn't even be going on. I mean, because she would have like just cleaned house in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's more mystery there to Moiraine and what power she's using, and then the fact that she's able to kill him is pretty awesome. And then at the end we kind of learn. Let's see what's the last little bit here, because Fail learned some stuff. Right?
Well, they end up taking off for Tyr.
Yeah. So whatever's going on in Ilion tonight, they were not Samael's main concern. So we're learning about that name gets dropped, right? It's Samael. as one of the Forsaken.
Samael,
yeah. That I wasn't sure if that name had been mentioned yet or not. You've heard it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just making sure like you've heard it in the because sometimes in the summaries like they'll put in the character's name and I'm sitting here going, did they act? Because for a while they don't know they don't know which of the Forsaken it is. So I just want to make sure. But anyways, yeah, that's that. I mean, if that's spoiler, that's what it is. So yeah, they're wondering about that individual, and then Perrin wonders if the Forsaken was after Rand. Moiraine says that it could be Mat as well, and that he blew the horn of Valir. After all, and then Fael is shocked about that. That's the shot. Did you say that already? That she was shocked about that that we actually have the horn of Valir. And
no, I didn't say that. Yeah, so.
Yeah, cause that's kind of a big deal. There is that she's been hunting for the horn and
right, and these guys know where have known where it is the whole time.
They casually mention like it's already been blown once.
Right.
What? You're like, wait,
what? Yeah,
seriously?
It's like this like ancient thing. Yeah. So I mean, so really, and the next episode, we're finishing this book. So I mean, I think obviously we're going to Tyr is where we're headed next episode, because that seems to be what everything is going on towards.
Yeah, we've got Black Aja is trying to lay a trap there. It's Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine are trying to get there. We are right there on the border with Moiraine, Lan, Perrin, Loyal, Fael.
Right.
I mean, when you list all the characters,
I don't think we actually covered Rand's the little Rand bit, but we can do that in extended.
Okay. Yeah.
Where Rand wakes up, because Rand wakes up from a dream. He does have one point of view and it's right after Perrin. So right after Perrin wakes up being hurt, Rand wakes up from his dream and he realizes I just nearly killed Perrin.
Oh yeah. That he actually
So we can talk about that in extended edition.
Yeah. Okay. And just so I had to look this up real quick. So chapter 44 is where we're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they were using his name, Samael. They did. So, because I don't always re-listen to the chapters before we start, and I was really concerned that they didn't mention his name and that we didn't hear it. But they mentioned it multiple times in chapter 44. It was mentioned in chapter 6 of The Dragon Reborn. And Moiraine is talking about that Samael did not send the Grey Men. Didn't think so. This is again what Moiraine is talking to them about, and is wondering maybe who Samael is after or what his goal is and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to clear that up, because sometimes I leave these episodes and I go, wait a second, did like a little detail like that, like if I would have dropped a Forsaken's name before before it was supposed to be dropped, people get ticked about that kind of stuff.
Hey,
I get it. So
that's okay.
I just wasn't sure if you had heard that or not. So there we go. There it is. All right. Well, I mean, that is that, man. That is it. We're up through 44, and we're finishing up. Next time we'll be in part 6.
Let's go, man. Then we'll be moving on to the Shadow Rising, making great headway here. Yeah, so it'll be 44 through 50 next time on The Dragon Reborn. So, guys, with that, hey, we want to thank you for answering the call. The next episode we'll be covering chapters 44 through 50, which is the end of the book of The Dragon Reborn.
Yep. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a message at thehornofvalir@gmail.com.
We will see you soon, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.